Hey you guys, welcome to my kitchen here in Canberra, where I am currently melting 2 tablespoons of butter. This is my first Facebook Live for a recipe that I'm doing here at home. And so what I'm calling it is ang kapal ng Mocha ko, which is basically this really good um, hot chocolate i-o-u. So yeah, what I've done is I've melted some butter over here, and what I'm doing is I've made a slurry. If you guys are familiar with that, it's a cornstarch slurry. So basically, it's like 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of water. You just pop that in, and that's what's gonna make this thing super thick. It's gonna be so good, I promise. So you put that over here on hot heat. I'm sorry you guys can't see it very well. I haven't mastered the art of making that together, but it's gonna be really, really good. And once you put the heat in over there, and it melts and makes a bit of a sludge, the trick to that now is adding your milk. Now, what makes it different is this. If you want a regular chocolate, a nice thick hot chocolate, you would use regular milk. So nice milk. But what I have here is it's coffee. That's right, because I said it's mocha. So I'm popping some coffee in over here. It's going to be so good. It's about a cup and a half of coffee. And so you just pop it in over there. And then, of course, you're working at a medium heat, so you want that to heat up a little bit. And as you pop it in over a medium heat, you also put, as if it weren't yummy enough, 4 tablespoons of sugar. What? Yeah! We're going to make it nice and sweet because, you know, YOLO. Diabetes isn't. Let's not go there, shall we? All right, I'm just gonna like heat this up over here. I'm gonna turn my temperature up a little bit. Here in Canberra, what I've noticed in the 2 places that we've stayed so far is that they use these nice little plates here, right? So they don't use gas stoves here, or certainly not in the places where I've been. And so what they do is they have these electric plates, and you have your pans over there on top like that, which is really good, right? The downside to that is, first of all, like when you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, like I do, and you're kind of hoping that, oh my goodness, it's so cold, can I please have something to warm my hands? It never happens because nothing works on an open flame here. So my wife has complained about how it takes so long for all these things to heat up, and it kind of is true. So even right now, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm just waiting for this thing to like get all hot and bubbly. And once that heats up, that's the part where we throw in this stuff. Okay, now in the Philippines, I'm just gonna wait for that to like start bubbling. Here in the Philippines, I've got you can have your chocolate, right? You can get the tablea, but there is no tablea here, and the Filipino groceries that I've been to don't have them, or are pretty much so expensive. So I got myself some Belgian chocolate. Oh, diba? We're so saucy. So technically, it's not quite Filipino chocolate, but the Filipino is the one making it. So ang kapal ng mukha ko. So this is what I've got. It's an 85% dark chocolate, and you want to work with chocolate that has about 70%. When you work with tablea, that's how it's working, right? So that's how you're going with it. So I have this is about 100 grams of dark chocolate, and once you pop this into this thing, it is gonna be so good. So there, it's starting to get nice and hot, which is great because you know what? It's about maybe 6 degrees right now. I'm not sure. And whenever it's that hot, you guys, whenever it's that cold, rather, you want something to warm you up. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put all these chocolate um, right there into the pan. And then we're just gonna keep on mixing. Oh, it smells amazing! All right. So what you want to do is you obviously want to just stir that and melt it in. And that is going to make this thing so good and so thick and so gooey. So again, just to recap, what kind of ingredients are we working with? You start with 2 tablespoons of butter. You melt that over a nice low flame if you're in Manila, or if you're in a place that doesn't have a gas stove, you're working at a low heat. And then after you do that, you melt it up, you speed it up, and then you put in a slurry of cornstarch. So about 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of water. And that cornstarch is what's going to make it all nice and thick. Mind you, if you're here in the Philippines, you will get it as cornstarch. Here in Canberra, it's not known as cornstarch. It's known as corn flour. I spent 15 minutes going through the entire supermarket trying to look for cornstarch, and when I couldn't find it, I finally asked somebody, and I was like, "Excuse me, do you have cornstarch?" And he was like, "Cornstarch? I don't know what that is." And then I said, "No, it's what you use to thicken stuff." And I said, "Oh, corn flour." And then he took me there and got it for $1. Things are never that expensive whenever it's, you kind of hope it'll be expensive, or rather you hope it'll be cheap, but it's not that cheap. All right, so now I'm looking at it and it is all nice and melted. I'm just going to taste that for a second, okay? Oh yeah, that is delightful. That is phenomenal, but that isn't thick enough. Okay, so I'm just going to let that bubble, and while that's happening, I'm going to tell you very quickly about something that happened to me in the Philippines. Very, very quickly. 2 weeks before I walked, 2 weeks before we flew to Canberra, I moved back in with my mother-in-law, and so my two kids and I stayed at my mother-in-law. And what I wanted to do was keep them, be a nice son-in-law and take care of them and stuff like that. So I bought all this great meat and things like that so that I could prepare food for the family while I was there. And what happens was, while I was there, I had to make room in their freezer for all the meat that I bought, right? And so my father-in-law, he loves fish. He cooks a lot of fish. And I'm good at cooking fish as long as it doesn't have a face. And all the fish that he had in the freezer, all of them had faces. It was ridiculous. And so what happens was he was already there in Nigeria, but he left all the fish with faces, which I don't know how to cook. So I just tried to make some room over there, and that's what I did. And what happens was, as I was removing the fish, so you had tilapia, all the stuff that you would otherwise cook if you're a Filipino who knows how to cook fish. You know how to debone them and things like that. You've removed all the guts and things like that. I never learned any of that. So fillet forever. Sorry, fillet is what they say here. In the Philippines, we're like, fillet. So anyway, here we are, and I'm making room for the. Oh, hello, Nathan.
Yeah.
See how tall he is now? Anyway.
Sharpen your please.
Yeah, later, son, after I'm done making this. So what happens is, here I am making room, and then so I remove the tilapia, right? And then make room for the pork. And then I remove all these things, right? And that's what happens. And then I remove this one piece of, I removed this one piece, and I had no idea what it was. It was wrapped up in what appeared to be cling wrap. And as I unwrapped it, you guys, I'm not kidding, okay? I unwrapped this thing in the freezer, and it's a goldfish. There's a goldfish in the freezer, and I have no idea what it's doing there. Who puts goldfish in the freezer? I was freaked out. I dropped the thing, and I ran to my mother-in-law. I'm like, "Ma, there's a goldfish in the freezer." And it turns out it was my father-in-law's super duper expensive, super fancy goldfish. You know, it's one of those goldfish that has like the orange thing on top of the head, lion head or something like that. And there he was, and that's what it was doing, and it was frozen just there in the freezer, you guys. I could not believe my eyes. It was absolutely ridiculous. And so there it was, and I just had to work with it, and I just removed it there, and that was the strangest thing I ever found inside my freezer. I don't know if you what kind of things you store in your freezers, but I had never thought in my life that I would ever see a goldfish ending up in the freezer. Anyway, you guys, this is starting to look really, really good. I like how it looks and I like how it smells. So I'm just going to pour this over here. Okay, see, I got this. Is that not the girliest cup ever? But it's the smallest cup it's the smallest cup I have. So that's what I'm going to put it in. So anyway, on a nice cold Canberra night, what you want is you want to be able to enjoy a nice cup of hot chocolate. And this hot chocolate, y'all, is super duper indulgent because it's got Belgian chocolate, it's got butter, it's got milk, of course it's got coffee, and so that's what you want. You can put it all together and just enjoy. Hold on, to put it on camera. Put it all together and just, I'm going to put that with the bowl there, because if I drop stuff onto the floor, my wife will not forgive me. Oh my goodness. Oh, do you hear that? Do you hear how thick that was? Oh no. That was amazing. All right. So, oops. And so, oh my goodness. Yeah, that is really good. I'm just going to move this camera a little bit so y'all can see how, excuse me. There we go. So you can see that that is pretty much pure chocolate, and you can see how thick that is because it's all just chocolatey goodness. All right. So I don't care how much sugar there's in here. All I know is that it's super hot and there's a hot chocolate here waiting for me. It's got coffee in it, so I'm gonna just enjoy this. And if I stay up awake all night, it doesn't really matter because why? Ang kapal no mocha ko. I'll see you guys very soon and have an amazing evening or morning wherever you guys are. God bless and see you again for another round of cooking here with Tito Kuya Gans TV. See you guys. Oh, yum.